Hello and good evening. Time for some prep. Fun times. Yeah. Alright, let's get a few things here. There we go. I can see chat. I can minimize that. Close some things. And, alright, time for some Dungeon World. It's a little loud. Let me turn that down a little bit more. It's loud in my ear anyway. Alright, so, who's out there? Good evening. So I run Dungeon World on Variant Roll's channel in a little game called From Us Came Dusk. It's actually just a short campaign. It's just supposed to be four sessions. Yeah, 4 sessions. We're through 2 sessions. Still getting loud in my ear. There we go. Just supposed to be 2 sessions. 4 sessions. We've played 2. And I need to update my fronts. Fronts are the way that you organize your game in Dungeon World. So, this is where things stood going into the second session. This was what I had at that time. Let me pull out my notes on the stuff that actually happened first of all. What did we do? How did things go? It was a good time. It's so in Dungeon World, one of the things that you can do, certainly not everybody does, but one of the things you can do is sort of set up and create your world as you go. That is what we are doing, with the understanding that we kind of bought into the same sort of unusual aesthetic going in. So this is a game world that's inspired by things like Horizon Zero Dawn and Legends of Zelda Breath of the Wild. The idea is you're in sort of a world that's very far future, in some sense post-apocalyptic. And because of that, things have changed, right? Things are not the... Oh, let me move this. Things are not what they used to be in terms of technology and all of that. So what we're doing is, instead, the technology from the old world is almost like magic now. So the way that one of the players put it when we were getting things planned was you just want robots and greeneries and magic tech and holograms and all of that. So there's a strong reclaimed by nature aesthetic. There is a strong idea of nature. There's a strong idea of technology having kind of infuse the world, but not in the ways that we know it today. And we can tell that because the characters are things like a troll cyborg paladin and a bard who's sort of a scholar, where kind of from the waist up, an elf, from the waist down, a dragon, and cloudy bits floating around. And they don't know where they came from, how they, they don't know their own background in that sense. So it's cool. The first session I based on Vault of the Blue Golem, which is a map that you can see here by Dyson Logos. I also used some inspiration at some point from another map by him that we're going to talk about more a little bit later. So the way we do fronts in Dungeon World is to kind of organize different dangers or threats. In fact, I'm going to start calling them threats here, even though because danger is a word that gets used for two different kinds of things in Dungeon World. Because you can defy danger. Danger can also be things like a trap or a hazard or something bad that's about to happen. You're going to act anyway. So I'm going to do that instead. I'll call it a threat, because that's really what it is. And so a front is a way that you organize these things. You've got a threat. I'm going to talk a little bit about what that does. You have stakes, the questions that you're playing to answer. So you don't know what's going to happen, right? You play to find out what happens in Dungeon World and other games based on the Apocalypse World kind of game engine. And when we first set things up, the whole setting, the idea was, not the setting, but the whole kind of way they were getting things launched was, there's a cave outside of town that every 96 days, like clockwork for generations, this blue ghost is seen. The blue golem, right? But it's a blue ghost in this. And it hasn't been seen for a while. And the village elders are getting worried because maybe that means something bad is happening or whatever. So we go into that. We go into the dungeon, which is up here. And what I had kind of planned was that the blue ghost was actually what I call the hollow golem, which is really, it's like a robot skeleton, and its body is a blue hologram. And inside, it's sort of a research station that's been invaded by this Chaos Ichor, however you say that. So, for each threat, you first define what kind it is. So you look over here at the fronts in Dungeon World. Yeah. And we scroll down. There are different kinds, right? Ambitious organizations, planar forces, arcane enemies, etc. And then within those, you have different types. And you can, of course, make up your own, right? This is sort of a list to get you inspired and started. It doesn't have to be exactly this list. So, I start from here. I say, well, what is this Chaos Ichor? And really, what I was really looking for was what makes the most sense in terms of the moves I would want it to use, in terms of its impulse, because that's what we're trying to do. We want to figure out what it wants. Well, it's Chaos Ichor, right? Chaos. So it wants to grow and tear apart reality. You could also say a bunch of other things. This is the way I want to think of it in my mind, is there's this place in our world where elemental chaos sort of is coming out. So I copy over the GM moves for cursed places, which is the kind of category that it is. I drop that in here because this is my reference sheet while I'm running the game. I'm not looking at other things. Every time that I need to kind of figure out what happens next, I look at this. This and my GM cheat sheet, right? This is my adventure front. So, I say, it could vomit forth another monster. It could lure someone in. It could grow in intensity or depth, etc., etc. The other thing that I wanted to do was have the vault itself originally as a threat. So, what I did was, I went and I thought, this is sort of an abandoned tower, because it was an abandoned place of research by somebody that would seem in the world now, the world in which the players find themselves, to be like a... Fix this. That feels funny. It's like an abandoned tower, like an abandoned wizard's tower, right? Same basic idea. Make sure that music is still going. Yeah, it is. Cool. Music from Tabletop Audio. Thank you. All right. So, I wrote that as an abandoned tower that draws in the weak-willed. Yeah, I'm kind of calling my players the weak-willed. The idea being there's something that's so mysterious and powerful and interesting that you just gotta check it out. So that's what I was doing. Then what you do is you say, so this is what it wants. what is the result? If it got all the way, if the players didn't do anything, what would happen? Well, you can kind of choose from the impending dooms, but again, it doesn't really matter that much. It's to kind of give you an idea of kind of the direction that you're going, but you can change that direction, right, depending on what happens, or you get a better idea. But it gives you something to start with, right? It's easier to kind of shift and adjust and play if you're doing something. So for the Chaos Ichor, clearly the impending doom would be rampant chaos, right? The laws of reality will be dissolved. Okay. For the vault itself, if nothing happens, they're going to lose the information in the databanks. I decided that this vault is like an old ancient science outpost, and the hollow golem and everything else about this was for kind of gathering biological specimens and data over the years, so that someday, when civilization recovered, they would have this long history of how the ecosystem of that area had changed over the centuries or millennia or whatever. But now things are breaking down because of the Chaos Ichor, and so you could lose the databanks. It could shut itself down in a race. In between, what are the steps, right? What are the ways that you show the players what is going to happen? What, as they get the idea that things are moving from bad to worse. So, and how does that show up in the world? It's not just, what are the steps that the monster or cursed place or enemy organization, whatever it is, takes. It's how does that look in the world? Well, what I decided for the Chaos Ichor was that the first thing would be that... How does that look? Yeah, that looks fine. It would excrete more chaos spawn, and I'll talk about those in a minute, but those are basically going to be monsters. Basically. And then those spawn get out of the vault, escape the vault, and filter out into the forest around where this is taking place. Eventually, that Ichor would consume the vault, and if it grew enough, dissolve all of local reality. Now, that sounds terrible, but hopefully, right, that stuff isn't going to happen because the player characters show up and get involved, and whatever craziness, whatever unexpected things they create, it's not going to be exactly like this. It might be bad, but it won't be this bad. Alright, so then I did the same thing for the vault. It could think that the players themselves are a threat. It could launch its own and let them know that, right? There could be attacks by its own sort of security drones, maybe the Hollow Golem itself, and then something bad happens and the databanks reset. That wouldn't be good. We don't want to get that far. Hint, they didn't. This was the front going in. That's what I need to update. The description of the front, I guess I could put this all the way kind of up to the top. Yeah, that looks good. There we go. So the Chaos Ichor had seeped in, and all the bad things we talked about. Now, the cast, that is not the characters themselves, I decided to have two. I decided to have the Vault AI, and I decided later to have them appear as a Dragonkin or a Dragonborn, but in hologram form, because I wanted to tie it to that one character that was this elven dragon cloud thing. Person, not thing. And therefore maybe kind of give them some clues or figure out that's kind of what the tie is going to be. That's what I was doing there. And then I decided that there was a planar worm, I just made that up, existing out in the multiverse somehow outside of our reality that has kind of extruded into this world and is sort of secreting out Chaos Ichor. Think of kind of non-Euclidean geometry, think of multi-dimensions, that sort of thing. Alright. I ended up not using the Chaos, the Field Anesthetic. That was going to be a move that the Hollow Golem could use, but they ended up making friends with it, so it didn't matter. But I did use this one a lot, this custom move that I wrote. So this was kind of to reflect the danger in the dungeon. When you draw too near the Chaos Ichor, maybe you dodge out of the way, maybe you power through it, maybe you try to throw it off of you, something. It would probably be difficult to use intelligence or wisdom or charisma, but I would be open to it, right? If they had some idea that sounded reasonable, sure, roll plus the appropriate stat, and we'll see. You know, they're defining the fiction, right? They are helping author this narrative with me. It's not me telling them a story. In fact, in many ways, I'm setting the stage and they are telling me the story, which is my favorite way to play really any role-playing game. Is, you know, I usually am the dragon manager or GM or whatever, and honestly, I like it when the players are entertaining me. And that's really what this is. Okay. So, what happened? Well, they got in. They saved the vault by eventually kind of the paladin used his holy smiting abilities on the Chaos Ichor itself to kind of remove the supernatural evil from the world. And that was good. But one of the Chaos Spawn got out. They had to chase it down. They fought it out. One of my favorite elements, one of the things that one of the players said happened in the forest was that the trees had these like computer cables and so forth as not exactly the roots, but kind of like the undergrowth, but still connected to the tree. The tree could control it. The trees were kind of sentient. So as the paladin was hustling, trying to get to the Chaos Spawn, one of the trees, being mischievous, reached out with like an old printer cable, an old VGA cable, something like that, and tripped him. And so they had to deal with all of that. Anyway, so that was fun times. I also told them that it turned out that that other vaults had also undergone this sort of intrusion, right, by the Chaos Ichor. That was the other thing that was happening here. Which is, funny enough, going to be also from same place, right? Same DysonLogos.blog. I wanted to use this map as well. I was kind of thinking of the Black Ichor when I created the Chaos Ichor. Doesn't have to be exact. This is just inspiration, right? The players never see this map. That never happens. So, what I'm going to do, I'm going to change this. The vault is no longer a threat. Okay? Chaos Ichor is still a threat. We might update a little bit. So let's update this description. Agumor, the great worm of chaos, has turned their attention to our world. Their Chaos Ichor has seeped into ancient scientific outposts. Why? Why is it an ancient scientific outpost? I mean, sorry, not why is it one. Why are they targeting that? I don't know. I think I need to sneeze for a second. If the players ask, we'll figure that out. I don't know. Let me copy this map. Oop. And hope. I can just refer to this straight away in there. I'm probably not going to use every room, but more like areas, kind of. Let me set this to wrap text. There we go. No, I want this over on. I don't know. What I think is that the Ichor itself is now like, that's just a hazard now, which we have here. I don't need this anymore. And they did preserve this knowledge. They took a copy. What I think now is that I want this to be a planar proboscis. Oh, the proboscis is like those long snouts that, or not snout is the right way. It's a proboscis is what it is, but that come out of like a mosquito or whatever. It's like a long tube that they have, sort of like a mouth. What is the right kind of front here? It's more like a dark portal, right? It's more like a dark portal. So the impulse to disgorge, not demons in this case, disgorge Ichor. Okay? No. To disgorge chaos or spawn. To spawn its minions. Hello, Jester Paul. Thank you for following. So, I need different grim portents. I am... Oops, that was more than I really wanted. I'm just going to move this up here. And just move it completely in line. There we go. There we go. I'm getting ready for my Dungeon World game tomorrow night. And we are in a sort of a cyber fantasy world, if you will. Science fantasy, very far future. With there's no punk elements in it, so it's not like, I can't call it cyberpunk, but it is certainly. We have a cyborg troll paladin, and we have trees whose undergrowth are old computer cables. An imp ranger with antlers for horns, who runs around with a semi-intelligent Wolverine. I love this group. I love this whole little world that we're creating. It's sort of a... I mean, I can't have no cosmic horror because I don't know how to do anything else. But it's relatively light, all things considered. Okay. So what is it going to do? It's going to... What is the impending doom? Is it rampant chaos still? Is it something else? I think it's still rampant chaos. I think so. Or should we, instead of having the chaos spawn, should we just keep focusing on that, on the Ichor itself? Yeah, I think so. To secrete Ichor into reality. Okay. So we're not going to deal with the chaos spawn this time, which are just monsters. I started with was it the planar powers? No. Chaos spawn. In this sense, oh, sorry, in the original writing, it's like a cultist who worships chaos gods. But I just really wanted the idea spoke to me, so I had rewritten this. It doesn't matter now. We're not going to use that same kind of thing this time. I want to go back to the planar powers. Do I? A concept elemental? Maybe. Yeah, I'll come back to this. I'll come back to it. Oops, not what I wanted. Come on, stop it. There we go. The proboscis begins to pulse and glow. Ichor flows freely. The vault is filled as the ichor spills outside. Really, all I want them to do is deal with getting to this place. So that's, yeah, first question. Not the first question. That question is going to stay. Can the group find the next excretion point almost? Yeah. So then can they, yeah, how, what, yeah, what I want to know is, are they going to be able to somehow stop this proboscis? Because I don't think it's going to be just as simple as just like you hit it with the sword a few times. What other threats are we going to have that are of this of this scale, right? Of this scope. Not something as small as a monster they might find on the way, which they certainly could do. The way they get there, they're going to need a few things in here, right? They're going to need maybe to find this hidden area. Maybe there's something there they need to help defeat this, or that there's going to be useful to them in some way. I don't know. What else? I want to have something. Let me go back. Maybe we can have the planar worm himself. It's themselves. They're not. Gender means nothing to them. Because why would it? Well, I should. Agumor, who is themselves a force of chaos. Impulse to destroy all semblance of order. To destroy all semblance of order. Both of these can't have the same impending doom. I mean, they can. We'll call this destruction. Sort of another apocalypse, right? Maybe that's... my idea is kind of like maybe this is something that has happened before. That's what I'll do. So, seeped into ancient vaults. If it spills outside the containment systems, there we go, it will unravel reality in the area and potentially the whole world. I want to have the same. I want to surprise them. I want them to have the same Vault AI in both places. That's kind of what I want. All right. This is going to be smaller, I think. Oops. Oh. And Grimportant. Create a wellspring from a of Chaos Ichor, right? In a second extrusion into the world. I don't know what the next Grimportant will be. And I don't want to just have second, third, fourth. That's bored, especially because we only have 2 more sessions for this game. Let's look at. So we need to anyway the different GM moves here. So we're gonna move this here. Let's see what we might get some ideas from this. Right? Planar forces. GM moves for planar forces. First of all, these are normal text and bulleted list. Right. Oh yeah, so maybe we so let's lay a curse on a foe. Infect the responding forces with chaos. Is it possible that the order, so we have a paladin who's this like cyborg paladin of like a tech order. Maybe the worm thinks that paladin's people are the real threat. I don't have to think about that. This is enough for now, I think. But this is going to be a simple thing anyway. Heading 1, heading 1, heading 2, heading 1, heading 2. Oh, this should be up here with... There we go. All right. Oh... I think this is honestly, I think this might actually be enough. Like, I might be done. If not, I'm close to it. All right. Any other ideas here? Iron obelisk weeps in near silence. This is going to be an obelisk. It's going to be a proboscis. Pools of it going around it. Ichor's seep down and flow where underground water should. Slow grinding noises. Oh, that's good. That is... That's good flavor to use for them. Yeah. Anything else here? Many powerful uses? No. Those who touch the ichor are cursed with a yearning sadness. What I did before is that they touched the ichor, like it made them kind of flicker in and out of reality for a moment. None of them got a 6-, I don't think, which is a miss in most Powered by the Apocalypse games that are using if they use a 2d6 dice mechanic. What else? Okay. I think we're good enough for that. My stakes questions are a little bit weak, but honestly, will Agumur infect and consume this reality? Alright. You know, the reality is, this is going to be a short session, like 2 hours, maybe, when we play it tomorrow night. And it's going to be the next to last session, because next week we're the final week. So, depending on what happens, they might end up confronting more of the planar worm. They might just defeat all of the things, both of the secretions. I don't know. We'll see. I need some kind of a good flavor quote if they do happen to somehow communicate with Agumur. I need to find a way to kind of communicate the non-Euclidean nature of this. But I think this is good. I think this is good enough. No, it's not, because here's what I need. I need more dungeon moves within... This is... I think we called it Vault number 3. So we've got a hidden area here. Let's zoom this in a little bit. How's that look? Zoom in a little bit more. Yeah. So we've got this hidden area kind of in the eastern portion, rather. Maybe the main lab is that far northern area. So I'm just going to describe this to them in rough terms, right? This is not a square by square, 5 foot by 5 foot dungeon crawl. I just need the highlights, right? So, let's see. Can I? No, I'm not going to. Hidden area behind those. If they kind of just tell me they're exploring, they're looking for secret doors. They can find a secret door. In this, I think it should contain some tech stuff, right? Some kind of something that's contains ancient technology for rebuilding the world. Main lab focused on... So there's this big central area where it extruded out. So what used to be there... I think there was some sort of, like, planar observatory. Previously used as a planar observatory. Sort of like a particle accelerator. We think of now as like a telescope, but but it was for observing other realities. For observing other realities. And maybe that's why this started to happen here. Okay. Dungeon World doesn't focus a lot on, like, loot, but it doesn't not focus on loot either. Like, it's useful. It's not the main thing is getting treasure. But since that I'm not really giving them any monetary treasure. Are there any interesting magic items I want to give them? Potentially. Thought I had written something down. Yeah, nope. That is from my other campaign. That's my Sunday campaign. Yeah. Alright. Burning wheel. Nope. Oh yeah, the Carcosan Spire. We're gonna call it something else though. Nope, that's not arcane. Not even one. What's another word for planar? What's another word for planar? Could look that up. No. Not that kind of planar. Reality. Well, not just the yeah. The reality spike. Reach stone 3. Wait, no, this spear of twisted white coral comes from. None are impervious to the strange thoughts of the others. Against mundane weapons. Yeah. I don't have to read this exactly to them anyway. That way, that's going to be the thing. They need to find something like this to harm that proboscis. That's what they're going to need to do. Okay? And it's heavy. Like, it's something they're going to have to really work with to attack it. So that means that the proboscis itself. Okay. We're going to shrink this a little bit. Impervious to non-magical damage, as it is not entirely within this reality. Cool. Anything else in here? I gave them before a few similar items. I gave them a Farsight stone. Yeah. And I could make one up, but yeah, could I give them a lodestone shield last time? I think I might have. They had a chance of finding it anyway. That was fun. Teleportation room. I think I'll just put one in the dungeon. I don't need that tag. Magical apparatus. Okay. What else? I think that's enough, honestly, what we have here. Got a little bit of treasure. A little bit of a dungeon. What dangers we'll find on the way, I don't know. We'll figure it out. I'm probably going to ask them what things they think are in the area, and then if they have a bad roll, and I get to make a move on their way, then that's going to be what they find. Do a bit of world building. I'm going to play for a couple of hours anyway. It's going to be good. Alright. I think we're done. So, version history, name current version, session 3 prep. There we go. We're done. Cool. Alright. Well, thanks for watching and for coming, those of you who came to hang out. And we'll do this again sometime. See you later.